Hey, good morning. Let's go over today's trade plan. So in the overnight session, we saw a strong rejection ahead of the 32.5 high volume node for a move all the way up to yesterday's initial resistance zone of 52 to 54.5, where responsive sellers were active, and at this point, the market is again in a very balanced state. Heading into the open, we have pre-market support at 39 to 41, and holding above that area leaves the door open for buyers to step in. Below that, we have yesterday's low at 36.75, followed by the initial support zone at 31.25 to 33.25. Now, in order to break down and break below the initial support zone, we are going to need to see broad market weakness and sustained downside momentum. And if those are present in real time, and we do break 31.25, 33.25, then all of those serve as bearish confirmations, and from there we can quite easily go down to 26 and the 23 to 24 area, and possibly even lower into the 18.5 high volume node, which is a minor area of support, followed by 11.5 to 13.5. But in order to really break down, we are going to need to see that broad market weakness, the other markets really participating in the downside move, and most importantly, sustained downside momentum. In the event that we hold above 39 to 41, it still leaves the door open for buyers to step in, and from there we can head higher into 45.25 to 46.25 and 48.5 to 50.5. And in order to sustain a breakout above 48.5 to 50.5, we would have to see broad market strength and sustained upside momentum. So 48.5 to 50.5 marks yesterday's RTH high, and in order to really get a sustained break above that, we're going to want to see strength across the board in NASDAQ, Russell, and sustained upside momentum. And if we see those signs in real time, then we can break 48.50 to 50.50 and test 54 to 56. That's the next inflection point. And then we have the open gap and the naked VPOC at 58, 58.50, and the current weekly 24-hour session high at 59.5, which can still be a area of resistance. And then beyond that, 63 to 65.50 is also a pretty solid area of resistance. So right now, our short-term bias is neutral. We know that the market can really still tip in either direction, and depending on the response that we see at 31.25 to 33.25 and how the market behaves at 39 to 41, that's really going to help set the bias and the tone on the day. The two key high volume nodes that are currently in play and relevant are at 40.5 and 32.5. The market is essentially kind of processing those two high volume nodes right now, and quite often high volume nodes serve as launching points of directional conviction. So right now the question is, are we going to hold 32.50 and 40.50 and head back up and test some of those resistance areas above, or are we going to launch to the downside and completely reject these high volume areas, which can then lead to a move down to 23.24, 26.25, and like I said, if you're really seeing a lot of weakness on the day time frame, then even a move down to 18.5 or 11.5 to 13.5 would not be out of the question. But we would have to see that broad market weakness and sustained downside momentum in order for even that type of move to take place. And if we're not seeing the other markets really participating, or a lot of downside momentum or broad market weakness, then we could hold at initial support or one of the support zones below. So today we're going to have to be very nimble and flexible with our directional bias on the day time frame, because the market is pretty much stuck in a balance right now. The short-term bias is neutral, the larger time frame bias is neutral, so things can really tip in either direction. We're going to have to be very focused on the signs in real time to determine which of those scenarios is taking place. Are we seeing excess weakness? In that case, we can break lower, or do we have a lack of weakness? Because given that we're trading at decent support here at 31.25, 33.25, and even the 39 to 41 area is not bad. Given that we're trading at pretty decent support, simply a lack of weakness can be enough to leave the market within the recent balance, and it can just continue kind of balancing in a range. It doesn't necessarily have to break, big to the downside or break big to the upside. And then if we start seeing strength later on in the morning, then it can still lead to a test of 48.5 to 50.5 and 54 to 56. So those are the main ideas heading into the open. Let's see how ES responds to 39.41, 31 quarter, 33 quarter, and we'll take it from there.